Guys, welcome to the Just for Laughs conference, the keynote address. Sorry we're a few minutes late starting. Patton was just somewhere going over his notes, but we didn't know where he was, so we were worried. And we asked Mark Maron if he was willing to repeat last year's speech, and he said, fuck no. So, guys, it's a real pleasure to present this. You guys are all familiar with Patton Oswalt as a comedian and an actor and a movie star now, and you can say a lot about him. One of the amazing things for me is this is a guy, a comedian who's become incredibly successful, and yet he still has his credibility and the respect of less successful comedians anywhere, which is a very impressive feat. It's my pleasure to present to you now for the keynote address, Patton Oswalt, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, guys. It's time to burn off the last bit of that credibility, so strap in. How's everyone doing? You guys okay? I know there's a bit of a labor strike here in the hotel. We're going to get through it. We've rigged a tarp on the roof to collect rainwater. There's been kind of a Lord of the Flies thing going on up on the 10th floor. Apparently, Dave Rath is the Duke of Montreal now. I was supposed to read that. He's apparently the #1 Duke of New York. I'm not really sure, but oh God, I'm so fucking nervous. Okay, here we go. Has anyone ever sung their whole address before? I'm gonna take a bit of a risk here. Hello, everybody. I'm truly humbled and proud, and as I just said, very intimidated giving this year's keynote address. There are way better comedians, way sharper comedic minds here at this festival right now. Luckily for me, none of them could be bothered to wake up before 1 p.m. So, and really, is there a better time to talk about comedy than 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday? No, there's not. So, welcome, everyone, to the 2012 keynote address, or as I'm calling it today, sushi for breakfast. We've had a very controversial year in comedy. This year we've opened up discussions about the appropriateness of rape jokes, talked about the role of gender in comedy, about the importance of accepting yourself and your audience, no matter what your race, creed, or sexual orientation is. And who better to cover all of that than a straight white male? The comedy community finds itself in a strange place right now, and you can tell how weird things are because people are referring to us as the comedy community. That is how fucked up things are right now. But no matter what I say today, the important thing is that comedy bloggers misconstrue it. I'm really hoping that you just... Right now, a blogger is writing a post with the headline, Oswalt condones rape for gay sushi chefs. I know that is happening as we speak, so... I was asked to do a tight 5, so in the spirit of stand-up comedy, I'm going to do 20. Look, I'll be honest, this is one of the most intimidating gigs I've ever done because I know that no matter what I say up here and no matter how well I say it, almost all of you is going to be thinking, oh, I could have done that so much funnier right there. That, you blew it. So what I've done instead of just giving a speech, I've written 2 letters, all right? First letter is to all of the comedians in the room, and the second one is going to be to the gatekeepers, all right? And all this is going to make sense when I'm done, I hope. I hope all this comes together. So here we go. Dear comedian in 2012, how are you? I'm good. In answer to your last letter, yes, the mozzarella sticks at the Irvine Improv do taste weird. I'm taking your advice and sticking with the nachos. Hey, you know what I was thinking the other day? Everything I know about succeeding as a comedian and ultimately an artist is worthless now, and I couldn't be happier about that. And let me be very clear when I say everything I know, all right? Because I started doing stand-up in the summer of 1988. And oh boy, that was a different time, wasn't it? Joe Piscopo was president. Mary Lou Retton won the Cold War. And Andy Kindler turned 50. So, when I say, by the way, if I hadn't popped that goddamn pee, that Joe Piscopo joke would have annihilated. Don't you? Oh, where's the nylon stocking over this? Can I do this We Are the World style? Really? When I say everything I know about succeeding as a comedian is worthless, I know what I'm talking about because everything I know became worthless twice in my lifetime, right? The first time all my knowledge about stand-up went down the shitter was the evening of May 22nd, 1992. I've been doing stand-up almost 4 years at that point, and that was, as you all know, most of you know, Johnny Carson's last ever Tonight Show. And up until that night, the way that you made it in comedy was very clear, very simple, very straightforward. You went on Carson, oh my fucking handwriting. I was very prescient even then that you had. This doesn't mean a lot right now, trust me. It'll mean something very soon. You went on Carson. Oh, what if I should just say Carson Daly? Come on, let's really. You went on Carson, you killed, you got called over to the couch, and the next day, you had your sitcom, you had your mansion, you've been made. That's how you did it. Everyone knew that, all right? You can just ask Drew Carey, ask Jerry Seinfeld, and Ellen DeGeneres, and Bill Clinton. That's how you did it, all right? But now, Johnny was gone, and he wasn't coming back, and all the comedians that I remember starting out with in D.C., all the older ones especially, all the ones who told me over and over again, you got to work clean, you got to hone your 5 minutes, and you got to go on Carson, and that's it. It all comes down to that. In one night, all of them were wrong. All of them were completely wrong, and not just wrong, those guys were unmoored. These guys were drifting. A lot of these bulletproof headliners that I opened for, men and women whose careers had seemed predestined, a lot of them, they never recovered from that night. You'll never hear their names. They had been sharks in a man-made pond, and now the water had been drained. They discovered they didn't have lungs, and they decided that their time had passed. All right? Now keep that in mind for later. The most important part of that last sentence, they decided their time had passed. The second time everything I knew about comedy became worthless has been pretty much every day for about the last 3 years. Now, I know that's not an exact date. Some other comedian, some younger, as yet famous name, maybe someone in this audience right now. Check under your seat. If you have a gold star, that'll be you. You are going to pinpoint that day 20 years down the road from now. So, but for now, every day for about the last 3 years is going to have to suffice, all right? That's the best I can do. And now, first, before I explain that, I was just going to give you a brief timeline of my career up to this point, all right, to when I realized it was all changing again, right? Here it goes, and listen very carefully to the words that I use. 2 words are going to keep coming up over and over again, all right? And they're going to come back later along with that phrase, they decided their time will pass. I'm going to tie it all together. You people are going to carry me around the room like fucking Peter Gabriel, I'm telling you. I was lucky enough to get hired on The King of Queens in 1998. I was 9 years on that show. Money, great cast, even better writers, a lot of fun. I bought a house. Nice. Then I was lucky enough to get cast as a lead voice in a Pixar movie in 2007. Acclaim, money, I got to meet a lot of my heroes. Then I was lucky enough to get cast in The United States of Tara on Showtime. I got to watch Toni Collette work. That was incredible. Right? I got to perform Diablo Cody's writing. After which, I was lucky enough, because I did that, to get cast in Jason Reitman's Young Adult, which Diablo Cody wrote. And that's where I got to make out with Charlize Theron. I will use that as an icebreaker if I ever meet Christina Ricci. I've been lucky enough to have been given specials on HBO, Comedy Central, and Showtime, as well as I've been lucky enough to be able to release records on major labels, and I was lucky that they approached me to do it, and that led to me being lucky enough to get Grammy nominations, right? I know that all sounds like a huge ego-stroking credit dump, but if you'd listen very carefully, you would have heard two words come up over and over again: lucky and given. And those are two very, very dangerous words for a comedian, because those two words can put you to sleep, especially once you get a taste of both, of being lucky and being given. Because the days of luck and being given are about to end. They're about to go away. Not totally, all right? There's always going to be comedians who, through hard work, they're going to get noticed by agents and managers and networks and studios and directors and record labels. That there will always be an element of that, all right? And they deserve their success, by the way. Every one of them that still makes it with that model deserves their success. And there's always going to be people that benefit from that, all right? I hope it keeps happening. What I meant when I said that the days of luck and being given are about to end is this: not being lucky and not being given are no longer going to define your career as a comedian and as an artist. Remember what I said earlier about all those bulletproof headliners who'd focused on their 5 minutes on The Tonight Show, and then when it ended, they decided their opportunity was gone? Well, that's just it. They decided. No one decided for them. They decided. Now, look at my career up to this point. Luck, being given, other people deciding for me. In the middle of the TV shows and the movies and the albums and the specials, I took a big chunk of my money and I invested it in a little tour called The Comedians of Comedy. I put it together with my friends. We did small clubs. We stayed in shitty hotel rooms. We packed ourselves in this tiny van and drove around the country. The tour was filmed for a very low-budget documentary that I convinced Netflix to release. That became a very low-budget 6-episode show on Comedy Central that I still own, that we all own a part of, me and the comedians. That led to a low-budget concert film that we released on DVD. When it was all over, I was exhausted, I was in debt, and I ended up with a wider fan base made up of the kind of people I always dreamed of having as fans. And I built that from the ground up, out of nothing, with friends and people I respected and was a fan of. And I realize now I need to combine both of the lessons that I've learned. I need to decide more career stuff for myself and make it happen for myself. And I need to stop waiting to luck out and to be given. I need to unlearn those muscles. And I'm seeing this notion taking form in a lot of my friends, a lot of you out there. In you, for instance, the comedian I'm writing to, your podcast is amazing. The little videos you're putting up on YouTube channel are getting better and better, every single one that you make. Just like when we did open mics, we better and better every week. Also, your Twitter feed's hilarious. Listen, I'm doing the Laugh Trench in Milwaukee next week. Is there any chance for an RT? Signed, your friend, Patton Oswalt. Now, this is my second letter. Dear gatekeepers in broadcast and cable executive offices, focus groups, record labels, development departments, agencies, and management companies. Shalom. Last month, I turned in the script for a pilot I co-wrote with Phil Rosenthal, who's had a share of luck and success I can only dream of. Thanks for the notes you gave me on the pilot script. I'm not going to be implementing any of them. And no, I'm not here to call you the enemy or the man, all right? I have zero right to say that based on the breaks I've gotten from you over the years. If I tried to strike a Che Guevara pose, you'd be correct in pointing out that the dramatic underlighting on my face was being reflected up from my swimming pool. I am as much to blame for my uneasiness and realization of late that I'm part of the problem, that I'm half asleep and I'm more than half complacent. But I'm still not going to implement your notes. And I'm quoting Phil Rosenthal on this next thing here, but he said, after we read your notes, and I'm quoting verbatim, "We're living in a post-Louis world, and these notes are from a pre-according to Jim world." I just read a letter to my fellow comedians telling them what I'm about to tell you, but in a different way, and here it is. You guys need to stop thinking like gatekeepers And you need to do it for the sake of your own survival. Because all of us comedians, after watching Louis C.K. revolutionize sitcoms and comedy recordings and live tours and listening to WTF with Mark Maron and Comedy Bang Bang and watching the growth of the UCB theater on two coasts and seeing careers being made on Twitter and YouTube, we're beginning to realize our careers don't hinge on someone in a plush office deciding to aim a little luck in our direction. There are no more gates. They've disappeared. They're gone, all right? The model for success as a comedian in the 70s and 80s, that was middle school. Remember, they'd hand you a worksheet, fill in the blanks on the worksheet, hand them back in, you'll get your little points, and that in no way prepares you for college. College is the 21st century. College was show up if you want to or not. I'm not taking attendance. There's no fucking worksheets. There's an essay, there's a paper, there's a final, and that's it. And you decide how well you do on them. And then after you're done with that, you get even more autonomy whether you want it or not, because you're a fucking adult now. Well, that is now happening, all right? We, the comedians and writers and performers and creators, we're getting more and more comfortable with the idea that if we're not successful, it's not because we haven't gotten our foot in the door or no one's given us a hand up. We can do that ourselves now. Every single day, we can do more and more without you and depend on you less and less. If we work with you in the future on TV shows or films or stand-up specials or albums, it's going to be because we like your product and your choices and your commitment to pushing boundaries and your ability to protect the new and difficult. So here's the deal, and I think it's a really good one, all right? I want you, all of the gatekeepers, to become fans. I want you to become true enthusiasts like me. I want you to become thrill junkies. I want you to be as excited as I was when I first saw Maria Bamford stand up, or I attended the Paul F. Tompkins show, or heard Scarborough Country, or read Marilyn Mudflap, or Shelby Farrow, or Megan Amram, or Char Starlene on Twitter. I want you to be as charged with hope as I am that we are looking at the most top-heavy with talent young wave of comedians that this industry has ever had at any time in its history. And since this new generation was born into postmodern everything, they're wilder and more uncontrollable and fearless than anything you've ever dealt with. But remind yourselves, youth is no longer king. Content is king. Right? Lena Dunham's 26-year-old voice is just as vital as Louis C.K.'s 42-year-old voice, which is just as vital as Eddie Pepitone's 50-something voice. Age doesn't matter anymore. It's all about what you have to say and the way that you're going to say it, and it's all being said right now in ways you've never heard. Please, please throw the old fucking model away. All this variety, just the tiny sampling that's at this amazing festival right now, all these voices in this audience right now, all of whom are better than mine, all of whom that are funnier than mine. I'm excited to not be the funniest guy in the room. It makes me work harder and try to be better at what I do. So be as excited and grateful as I am, all right? And if in the notes that you give me, and if in the model, and if in the opportunities you give me, you try to cram all of this wildness and all of this risk-taking back into the crappy, mimeographed worksheet form of middle school, here's what's going to happen. We're just going to walk away. We're not going to work together. No harm, no foul. We're not angry about it. No hard feelings. We can walk away. And do you know why we can do that now? Because of this. Because of these. In my hand right now, I'm holding more filmmaking technology than Orson Welles had when he made Citizen Kane. I'm holding almost the same amount of cinematography, post-editing, sound editing, and broadcast capabilities as you have at your TV network or studio, and in a couple of years, it's just gonna be fucking equal. It's going to be fucking equal. I don't really know how to use this to its fullest potential, but I'm starting to learn because I see what's fucking coming. And you all need to start learning too. Right? This isn't a threat, gatekeepers. Right? This is an offer. We like to create. We are the ones who love to make shit all the time. You're the ones who love to discover it and patronize it and support it and nurture it and broadcast it. Just please get out of our way while we do it. Just get out of our way because we have these now. So if it, and by the way, here's another thing too. If you get out of our way and we fucking go out and fall on our face, we won't blame you like we used to in the past because we won't have taken any of your notes. It will truly be on us. And I don't know if you've seen the stuff that's being uploaded to YouTube. There are sitcoms now on the internet. Some of them are brilliant. Some of them are meh. Some of them outright fucking suck. At about the same ratio as things are brilliant and meh and sucky on your fucking network. And if you think that we're somehow going to turn on you later if what we do falls on its face and blame you because we can't take fucking criticism, let me tell you something. We have gone through years of open mics to get where we need to get. Criticism is nothing to us, and comment threads are fucking electrons. Signed, sincerely, Patton Oswalt. Thank you guys very much. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Have a great festival, guys. Get learning. Thank you.
Patton Oswalt, ladies and gentlemen.